Welcome once again to a gathering of heart and healing here at historic Maple Grove Cemetery. Every event we host is more than a program. It is a moment of reflection, a bridge between the past and the present, and today is no exception.
Okay. Before we begin, we will pause to dedicate this event to a man whose life was an embodiment of compassion and courage. This event is dedicated to Dr. Frank Gabrin, 1959 to 2020. A devoted emergency room physician, Dr. Gabrin made the ultimate sacrifice in the early days of the COVID-19, becoming the first ER doctor in the United States known to have died from COVID. And he's buried here.
He once said, "We made a choice long ago to put ourselves into a position as a physician to be able to care and make a difference. It serves us well to remember that what we want from our work is the good feeling that comes from truly caring for others." These words ring with even more meaning today as we gather to listen, to learn, and to honor the spirit of healing that lives on in those who dedicate their lives to the well-being of others.
And now it is our great privilege to welcome another healer in our midst, Dr. Stephen Simonetti, a man of deep wisdom and infectious enthusiasm. Dr. Simonetti brings us more than dietary advice. He brings us a new way of seeing our health. As he reminds us, you are not what you eat, but what you digest, absorb, and assimilate. In that simple phrase lies a world of insight, an invitation to move forward, to move beyond the surface of nutrition and into the deeper workings of how we care for our bodies and, by extension, our lives.
This afternoon, let's open ourselves to that message, not just with our minds, but with our hearts. Let us remember Dr. Gabrin's legacy of selfless care and carry that spirit with us as we learn how to care more deeply for ourselves and for each other. Just a few housekeeping rules. Please turn off your cell phones. I did mine already. We'll have a reception afterwards downstairs. We have some refreshments. And please join me in welcoming Dr. Stephen Simonetti.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank Carl and Helen for the opportunity to be here. I've been here before for some great concerts, and it's really a wonderful place that we get to put our souls and our hearts here. The only other housekeeping thing I want to bring up is two things. One, if you have a question, we encourage participation. Try to hold it off till we are at the end of the topic, because chances are I will have covered it and you may not need to ask that question. If there's a personal question and you want to hold it off till afterwards, we'll be here. The presentation is only 6 hours long. No, we're going to keep it to some questions and answers. Hopefully I have the answers at the end. I'll try to keep it to about 45 minutes. But with my enthusiasm, I tend to go very fast. The only thing I ask you not to do is fall asleep and snore very loudly. I lectured in my office on Tuesday, and we were going pretty quick. I had so much to cover. And the husband was sitting here, and the wife was sitting here, and the husband was doing this. And I looked at his wife. I said, "Can you interrupt him a little bit? He's kind of interrupting me." And you know what she said? She said, "You wake him up, you put him to sleep." No. The only other housekeeping item, and I do have no more jokes because I want to get to a lot of information, is I would try to take some notes. If you don't have a pen and pad on your phone, send a text to somebody or put it in your notes, because there is a tremendous amount of information here. And the only other thing before we start, Dr. Gabrin and I have a few things in common. Number one, we were both born in 1959. I got to check his exact birth date. I hope I'm a little younger. I also had COVID at the same time he did, and I was hospitalized. And my mother had it at the same time. She was 100 years of age. And the story for that is multifold. We can live to 100 to 120 years of age and burn out like a candle and flicker out. If one culture can do it, one person can do it, we're all made of the same cloth. we can all do that. So my mother followed almost, not all of these principles, because I've been studying health for 40-something years, longer than I want to admit. But she taught me some principles about health, and she lived those principles. So, number one, we had a little bit of AV glitch, so unfortunately I'm going to have to reach down there once in a while. It's not a whole lot of slides, but you are not what you eat, but what you digest, absorb, and assimilate. So many things affect whether what you put in your mouth is going to get to your cells to help you be healthy. And we're going to get to as many of them as possible, at least the most important ones. But I want to backtrack and go through what health is. See, health is the body's ability to replace healthy, normal cells. Cells are constantly regenerating. In fact, we create a new liver every 6 weeks, a new stomach lining every 3 to 5 days, a new heart every 3 to 4 months. Within a year to two, our bodies have replaced every tissue, every organ. The organs work in systems like your circulatory, your respiratory, your endocrine system to help create a healthy body. So our bodies are in constant process. The process is we are either replacing normally or our cells are replacing abnormally. And the body doesn't repair sick cells, right? It doesn't repair sick cells. It's either in this process or it's in this one. So the key, right, is to be in this process. See, but we don't learn about this. Our system, our medical allopathic system, is not about the promotion of health. It's really about what? The treatment of disease. And they do that pretty well. I mean, thank God, if you're in a bad accident, they can replace your kidney, your spleen, and many other things. But the answer has to be in this process to stay healthy. You don't want to be in an emergency situation. You don't want to be in crisis. So, I want to cover one other thing before we get to the meat and potatoes. And by the way, neither one of those are good things we should be eating a whole lot of times. But you say, well, what about genetics, right? Well, they spent trillions of dollars in the Genome Project. Trillions of dollars. Basically to take care of our bodies better with drugs, knowing what drugs would work. They were shocked. You know why they were shocked? They found out we are about 10,000 genes better than an earthworm. So they were shocked because they found that it wasn't the genes. There is something called epigenes, and now all the research is in epigenetics. So epigenes is this. Within every cell, there's receptors that stimulate your genes. Those receptors, protein receptors, guess what they're stimulated by? The food you eat, exercise, how well you sleep, how well your nerve system is working. So this is the point. Your health is 80% lifestyle choice, 20% genetics. So just because the genes you think are bad, they're not necessarily the genes that are bad. It's your epigenes that are more at risk and more to your benefit. So, why are you what you eat, you digest, and what you assimilate? Well, first of all, you ever get stressed out and eat a meal? You get, in my vernacular of an Italian person, agita, right? Right, you're stressed, your nerve system is stressed. So, your stress level, your emotion affects how well you use your food. In fact, I would rather eat beers and franks with cheers and thanks than salad and sprouts with fear and doubt. Right? So there are places that pray over food because food has an energy, but you have the energy. So, and your nerve energy is crucial, and sleep is crucial. If you're not sleeping right, it's going to affect your digestion. Exercise is one of the best things you could do to help your digestive system. Number one, it reduces many forms of cancer, and I know today is not about exercise. I do teach that, and You're all welcome, by the way. Next Tuesday, we have a workshop in my office. If seating permits, you're welcome to attend that. I'm in Whitestone here. And we go through a 5-step exercise program. But exercise reduces many forms of cancer. Did you know that? And the reason is because you get rid of toxins. So this is the story. To be in this process, you need to give the cells a rich, abundant supply of oxygen, water, hormones, and nerve energy. And you need to get toxins out and not overload with too many toxins in. That is accomplished through your lifestyle choices. So the first one is, what do you put in your mouth? Let's go. So, number one, our bodies are 70 to 80%. What are they? Water. Planet Earth is 70 to 80% water. It therefore makes a lot of sense to put water in this body. In fact, if you don't have enough water, you don't get rid of toxins properly. And you will show up through your skin with skin problems, bowel problems, perhaps breathing problems, simply from being dehydrated. And one of the most common causes, or one of the most common effects of being dehydrated is fatigue. If you're tired, just drink some water. Now drink water. Any Coca-Cola beverage is registered as a food. Anybody have any idea why? 7 2/3 tablespoons of sugar, and they put caffeine up. You'd spit it out, you wouldn't even drink it because it wouldn't be palatable. And I always get, well, I drink diet soda. Well, diet soda used to have what in it? Saccharin, until they found out it caused what? Cancer. Now, again, backtrack again. You may not be doing these things, but some of your loved ones might. So this is why you got to pay attention regardless. But so any diet product now has what in it? Aspartame or NutraSweet. Guess what aspartame breaks down to? I wish it was sugar. Formaldehyde. I don't want to be that well preserved out there, thank you very much. Or maybe if I'm out there, I do. So any diet product, it leads to Alzheimer's, some other forms of dementia. Diet stuff, don't spit out that sugarless gum you have. You're better off, if you're going to have sugar, regular sugar, cane sugar, right? Not brown with caramel color on it sugar. But you're better off not having sugar, and we're going to go through that in a minute. But again, you're better off drinking water only. And when do you think of this? Drink fluids. When do you drink them? Before the meal, after the meal, or during the meal?
Before.
Well, we're going to answer that question in a second. I want you to think about it. But this is the other thing about water. Where my kids grew up in Flushing is pretty good. But this water is not the best anymore. So you need to have a filter. I have an alkalized filter. We are acidic by nature, so we need alkalizing our body with the foods and the waters. So I have an alkalized filter underneath my sink. It goes to my ice cubes. Any bottled water, they've researched all of them, they're very acidic. So they also leach the BHTs or whatever those initials are out of the plastic into your water. So if you have a trip where you're going to have bottled water, clear plastic, because if it's got the film and the foam, it leaches more of that stuff in the water that you're drinking. But the other thing is drink water. Any juice has so much sugar, especially orange juice. It's one of the most sugar-laden juices of them all. So if you're going to have juice for your kids, your grandkids, dilute it. But you're better off drinking water, period. What else about water? Well, they say you need 8 glasses of water a day. Well, listen, is Helen different than Carl? Carl is different than me. 8 glasses of water a day is not, it doesn't make sense for the same reason 500 milligrams of vitamin C does not make sense. And I'm not anti-vitamin, but everybody's different. I'm different when I'm working out 5 times a week as opposed to if I'm traveling twice a week. So you drink when you're thirsty. Hopefully in the morning, chug some water down because you're in a releasing toxin phase. So your body's getting rid of toxins. You wake up With morning breath, you go to the bathroom. I don't want to get graphic here. But the point is you want to get rid of toxins. So it's a good idea to drink water first thing in the morning, even with lemon, because lemon will make you, believe it or not, more basic, not acidic. So that's a good thing to do. Now, when do you drink fluids? Think about this. At the sight of food, you produce some enzymes. You've got to break down the food. Now you put the food in your mouth, you get some enzymes, some ptyalin, and then some others in your stomach and your intestines. Now when you drink with the meal, does it make those enzymes stronger or weaker? Weaker, it dilutes them. So now you're spending more energy with your pancreas and your nerve system to produce all of these enzymes. So if I go out and I have a carrot juice or a beer, and I believe in moderation, it's usually the carrot juice, however, I'll drink my water first, I'll drink that, and then I won't drink till 2 or 3 hours after I've eaten, because I want to use my digestive enzymes efficiently. Now, if you're not eating right, don't stop drinking with the meal. I'm going to repeat that. If you're not eating correctly, don't stop drinking with the meal. What is eating correctly? Well, we are 70 to 80% water. Guess what God put on this planet? Foods that have 70 to 80% what? Water. So I've read every diet. I've done every diet. You know, they say practice what you preach. I preach what I practice. And they are all consistent in eating these 2 types of food, except the early part of South Beach and Atkins, which is a high-protein diet, which destroys your kidneys. So it's kind of lost favor, Atkins, so you may not see that around. But every diet is consistent in doing these 2 food groups. 70 to 80% of what's on your plate should be what? Vegetables. Fruits and vegetables. Twice as many vegetables as fruit. I know some of this stuff sounds obvious, but how do you practice that? When you go out for dinner, what do you get? You get the meat, the potatoes, the rice, the bread. Don't forget the dessert. And then over in the corner, overcooked, dead vegetable. A living water, living food diet. This is natural hygiene. I don't believe in all of what they say. Harvey and Marilyn Diamond brought natural hygiene to the modern times. But 70-80% of what's on your plate should be lightly cooked vegetable. Fruit, you need to eat a wide variety of fruits, different colors. There's a phytonutrient that prevents cataracts when you eat fruit. But think about this. As cave gatherers, we've been around for how long? This much. As human beings, we've been around for how long? This much. As cave gatherers, did we eat fruit all the time? No. It was seasonal. We stored it, we ate it. And the reason that you don't want to have that much, its sugar content is crazy. It's a lot, it's very nutritious. But again, we ate it seasonally. So you want to have as many different colored vegetables, twice as many as you eat fruit. You need to lightly cook it. The more you cook it, the nutrients go up in the smoke and the water stays in the pot. Some sources say 50% raw vegetable. Nutritional theory changes about every 22 seconds. Some foods like tomatoes activate propylene, which is good for a man's prostate, so sometimes it's good to have some tomatoes cooked. But the idea is as many different colored vegetables as possible. Now, let's hit this thing and move on. So this is for you to fill in the blanks. I usually have a booklet. I'm going to have this on my website. I know we're getting recorded. Thank you very much. So we're going to probably use this recording for the website. Our bodies are 70-80%. What did we say? Water. The 2 basic sources of water-enriched foods, which are 70 to 80% of what we should be eating, are fruits and vegetables. A typical American diet consisting of 15% water-enriched foods is suicide, because we're clogging ourselves up. They're not reproducing. We're not getting rid of toxins properly. So, homework assignment, write down everything that's passed your lips in the past 24 hours. What percentage is water-enriched food? Should be 70-80%. Guess what? Coffee does not apply. We're going to talk a bit about coffee, but it's not a water-enriched food. And lastly, what percentage of your food is water-enriched? And drinking any fluid with a meal, what does it do to your enzymes? It weakens or dilutes them. So, the 5 poisons are what you dramatically reduce, which I'm going to get to. But you are also what you digest, what you absorb, and what you assimilate, because guess what? As a human, your human cells don't digest your food. We are approximately 38 trillion bacterial cells. We're about 30 trillion human cells, and 100 times that, parasites, protozoa, and a whole bag of other cells. So we're going to go through your microbiome, because your microbiome actually is the bacteria in your gut that digest your food. So even though we're going to cover a lot of things, what is good to eat in principle, it doesn't matter if your microbiome is not digesting your food, and we're going to go into that in a few minutes. But the 5 poisons to reduce, I put poisons in brackets, or eliminate. Number 1, this might sound sacrilegious, dairy, milk, cheese, yogurt, ice cream. Don't take away my Haagen-Dazs. But think about this. This is, again, natural hygiene. And you'll say, well, there's cultures who live on dairy their whole lives, generation after generation. But look at it this way. Look at it this way. Calcium, what do we think we're getting is calcium, right? And protein. Calcium is wrapped up in casein. So from a biochemical viewpoint, it's not a good source of calcium. And we're going to go through the good sources of calcium. And if you're postmenopausal female, you really need to be concerned with calcium. It affects not just osteoporosis or osteopenia, it affects estrogen metabolism, it affects a lot of different things. So, it also binds with phosphorus. That's why you don't drink a lot of carbonated beverages which have phosphoric acid, because it leaches calcium out of your bones, out of your joints, out of your nerves. So biochemically, it's not a good source of calcium. But this is all I had to realize, and I knew that dairy makes 0 sense. We are the only mammal not to be weaned. Every single mammal stops drinking milk once it achieves 3 times its birth weight. Every mammal. We drink milk for how long? Forever. We are also the only species to drink milk from another species. A goat drinks goat's milk. A cow drinks cow's milk. We'll drink any milk we can get our lips on. Now, with that said, I know you're going to have some milk, right? You're going to have your coffee, you're going to have some milk. Forget soy. Forget tofu. If it's tempeh or seitan and it's fermented a little more, it's a little bit better, but it's all GMO. It's genetically modified. Almost all of it. But it also interferes with estrogen metabolism. And if you want man boobs and you're a man, well, maybe have some soy. But soy milk, you don't want to go near that. They have coffee substitutes, and this is what people sometimes use in cereal, but generally cereals are horrible, and we're going to get to another poison down on that list, and it's a terrible combination of having cereal with milk, which is sugar, and it's a horrible combination. However, if you're going to have your almond milk, oat milk has more sugar in it than the other. It's sugar, oat milk. If you're having your plant-based milks, you have to read ingredients. Because they're not just the almond milk, it's got emulsifiers, which we're going to get to. We got to get to those, which are terrible. It usually has sugar and salt. Good sources of and if you're going, coconut milk is pretty good, but again, read what's in it. If you're going to have regular milk, don't get low fat, 2%, no fat. That's a marketing ploy to sell more milk, right? And when they take the fat out, then the protein doesn't get digested. You remember we said briefly about those bacteria down here? Well, if they get not the bacteria broken, if it's not broken down, then it goes in, it's called leaky gut syndrome, which we're going to talk a little bit about, leading to allergies, stiffness in joints, etc. So if you're going to have milk, regular cow's milk, have full, if you can get grass-fed, definitely organic, But again, you're best off grinding your own almond milk. And if you are concerned with calcium, and as I said, everybody should be, good sources of calcium are green leafy vegetables. Kale, about the #1 best vegetable, has 10 times the phytonutrients as broccoli, and broccoli is pretty good. A raw handful of nuts, almonds. If you have walnuts, refrigerate them. If you have roasted nuts, make sure they're dry, because if they're not dry roasted, they're roasted with one of the 7 terrible oils. And we're going to get to oils next. But again, if you're going to have milk, not a lot of it, if you're going to replace your calcium because you're not having milk, green leafy vegetables, the fish, salmon, strawberries, raw nuts. And let me see where else we're going with that one. Kale. Kale is one of the most sprayed products. So I don't ever have kale out because they're usually not using organic kale. So Trader Joe's down the block here on Metropolitan Avenue, some other supermarkets have organic. They have it in a bag. It's not sprayed. So let's go to what we put the milk in, our coffee, right? Coffee is one of the most sprayed products. So again, I go to Trader Joe's, I get organic. My wife and I are coffee snobs. We grind our own, however you want to do it. But try to get organic coffee, because if you're having that every day, or some of your loved ones are, they're getting their daily dose of toxins. Also, coffee, there's some good things about coffee. #1, it's an antioxidant, which helps stop your cells from aging a little bit. It also helps balance the kind of bacteria in your microbiome. So, and it's a good source of fiber, believe it or not. But it dehydrates you, so make sure you drink a lot of water, and it demineralizes you. So you got to eat a really good, when you have coffee every day, or however often you have it, you got to eat real well that day. So, let's move on, because we got a lot to go, and I might be close to that 6 hours. Excessive fats and oils. #1, we should eat a fat with every meal, because there's something that stimulates our brain that tells us we're full. And a good fat is good for your brain cells, it's good for your skin. And in fact, a good fat increases the absorption of your greens 10 times of getting the vegetable without the good fat. So the good fats are omega oils, and they're omega-3s and they're omega-6, and they should be eaten in a 1-to-1 ratio. It's kind of almost impossible to do that. But omega-3s, where do you get omega-3s more than anything else? Fish. What's the best fish?
Salmon.
What's the best salmon?
Wild salmon.
Wild salmon. Because if it isn't wild, don't eat it. In fact, there's tilapia, which I discovered goes great on your grill, the worst fish in the world for you. It has to be wild. The other good sources of omega oils,
Sardines.
avocado. Well, sardines are fish. Avocado, it has a lot of vitamin E. Avocado has fiber. I could eat at least a half an avocado every day, as long as Mexico lets them in here. Good sources of fats are extra virgin olive oil, but organic. So if you eat a salad and you put extra virgin olive oil and you're having your greens, you're increasing the absorption of those greens. Great salad dressing is apple cider vinegar, organic, with olive oil. Don't put lemon, it doesn't taste well. And put some spices in there. Good fats are nuts. Walnuts are one of the best sources of fats. The bad fats, they are everything else. The good fats are coconut oil, avocado oil, grapeseed. The bad fats are everything. And they're in everything. They're an atrocity. Now, you may not like him. You may, wherever you stand on the political ladder, RFK Jr. is trying to make change. And I have a proposal that the chiropractic profession is going to help make that change. And it's going to start with education, and we're waiting for a sit-down with him this week. And it's major, major, major. It's not just getting the dyes. You know, before he even became head of HHS, they got rid of red dye number 40, just by, they were afraid that all the stuff he's going to do. But he's also going to get rid of several other things, but they're going to have, and you've heard it here first, the chiropractic profession, who are the leaders of health and wellness. Now, I know you guys don't know that right now because we've done a terrible job of telling people what chiropractic is, right? At best, people think it's about back pain. And if it was just about back pain, I'd stay home and say, take 2 of these or whatever. But I will tell you a little more about chiropractic in a little bit. But we are on the precipice of seeing some major change in our healthcare system. And it's about the promotion of health is far superior than the treatment of disease. The promotion of health is far superior than the treatment of disease. And it's what you eat, how you move, and how you think. And we're going to cover more about how we eat now. But again, the oils are in everything. And they are canola oil, which means it comes from Canada, soybean oil, safflower oil, 7 of them. And they don't know how to, or your body doesn't know how to deal with bad oil. So it deposits in places it shouldn't be. So those oils are in every salad dressing. They are in almost every ice cream, some of them. They're in every candy bar. So you need to read labels. Because if it says 7 grams of fat and 5 of it is saturated, saturated means hydrogenated. They put an extra hydrogen bond. It's a man-made fat. And that's what your body doesn't know how to deal with. So if it's 5 grams of fat and only 2 are from saturated fats, that's the candy bar you want to eat if you have to have a candy bar. But again, what oils do you cook with? Now, oils have a boiling point. They get to be carcinogenic, causing cancer at a certain temperature. The highest is about coconut oil. It'll change the taste of your food. The next one, maybe avocado oil, is a little higher than olive oil. But olive oil has 2 different types. There is extra virgin, which has a lower boiling point. It's good for your salad dressings. Hard to find regular olive oil, even though it says it right across the label. If you read the fine print on the back of the bottle, it's going to say a combination of extra virgin and regular olive oil. So the only place I've been in every supermarket, I think, I go online to get it. I go on Amazon and I found one oil that's all that it is. Got to get off of excessive fats and oils, and we'll never get to a bunch of other stuff. Animal flesh. We eat something that grazes on what? I wish it was grass. I really do. Right? That would be the sunlight, photosynthesis, animal, good producing cells. No. We eat something that grazes on corn or wheat. Corn has no nutritional value. I hate saying that coming into the summer because corn on the cob is awfully darn good tasting, right? Has no nutritional value. That's why they put it in our gasoline. A grass-fed cow has 5 times the omega oils as wild salmon. I'm not suggesting eating a lot of it, but grass-fed, and now there's grass-finished and grass-fed. Grass-finished is fed grass the whole length of the life of the animal. Grass-fed, it can feed anything that lasts 30 days. And grass-fed cow lives like 2/3 longer than another cow eating on that garbage it shouldn't be eating, right? So eat less red meat, but if you're going to eat red meat, eat grass-fed or grass-finished if you could find it. Chickens, well, chickens graze on what? Corn and wheat. They should be eating insects, right? So some chickens now genetically, They don't have wings because they're growing so close together in the chicken coop. In fact, even it says free range, that might mean they get to look out the window or they get walked out for a walk to come back in 5 minutes later. So it is very loose what free range means. Purdue is very marketing savvy. They're saying no antibiotics. In New York, it's illegal to have antibiotics in the chicken in New York. They're all antibiotic free. But again, I have a hard time finding a good farm-raised chicken. I used to get Murray's and Bell and Evans. They're in a lot of supermarkets, but I don't think they're truly fed a roaming diet. So you have to get your protein if you're not eating as much meat. So the good vegetables that have a lot of protein, asparagus, watercress, cauliflower, they're cruciferous vegetables, which are anti-cancer producing. Brown rice, black wild rice, quinoa has some protein. I wouldn't eat a lot of quinoa because it's a grain, but I would eat some once every couple of weeks or so. The egg, they lifted the ban on the egg. Eggs are not going to cause cholesterol issues. Have to be free range, have to be organic. They're expensive, but you're worth it. And you don't have to eat them that often, but they're a great source of protein. And there's all the nutrients is in the yolk. There's nothing bad in the yolk. And let me just tell you this off the record, but on the record, the cholesterol level you have has nothing to do with your degree of heart disease. The blood work we get is sophomoric, and it's old and outdated. You need to look at homocysteine, how much the things stick to your blood vessels, how much inflammation you have, C-reactive protein. It's your cholesterol, HDL ratio. That determines whether your cholesterol could be high. But if your good cholesterol is high, it's the ratio that's most important. And your LDLs, it's your small particles. So when you get blood work, ask for a small particle LDLs, because those are the ones that slip in your blood vessels. And those are the bad ones. All right, we've got to get going here. Acidic foods are processed, canned, frozen. You're better off always fresh. When you leave something in your refrigerator, your leftovers lose 50% of their nutritional value overnight. So realize you got to get to those leftovers or give them to me. Now, wheat pasta, this is, again, sounding sacrilegious. There's a great book written by a cardiologist. It's called Wheat Belly. And we are, as a culture in America, 70% of us 20 to 30 pounds overweight. And it's not the McDonald's. McDonald's ain't great. It's not the soft drinks. They're not great either. It's this genetically modified stuff. And I'm Italian, so it's hard for me to say this. You know, my mother's Monday lasagna, Tuesday manicotti, Thursday, you know, eggplant rollatini. It's very hard for me to say this. But when you eat a Snickers bar or you eat a half a sandwich, you need to produce a certain amount of insulin so that doesn't get stored as fat, right? It's your glycemic index. Guess what you need more insulin for? Not the Snickers bar, the bread. So it causes storage. It's just not nutritious. Now they do have brown rice, pasta, and even in North Shore Foods, they have Borelli, I think is the pasta made of chickpea. If you gotta have it, it's there, chickpea pasta. So, and that is very healthy for you. Now this is the problem. Look at these ingredients. So let me just tell you, if it tastes good, it's not good for you. Because what tastes good? You take some white flour, you put some terrible bad fat, and a bunch of sugar. And it tastes awesome. Just not good for you. So, you are what you eat, what you digest, and what you assimilate, but less what you eat. You can eat some terrible things and be relatively healthy if you have a good microbiome. So we have millions of bacteria on our skin, give us a rich complexion. As I said, tens of, at least 5 to 1,000 different bacteria in our gut. And this is what the microbiome does. It takes what you eat. Well, you put it in your mouth, it goes into your stomach, goes into your intestines, and that's where the magic happens. So some in your stomach too. But it's a tube, your intestines, and it's got a lining 100 times thinner than my fingernail of bacteria that have no holes. There's no holes in this microbiome. It's all bacteria. The bacteria take what you eat and spit into your blood, their waste product, into your blood, tryptophan, serotonin, dopamine, the pleasure hormones, antioxidants, other nutrients that your cells need. This is why people with a poor microbiome, more depression, more dementia, because they're not getting, you could put it in, but it's not getting to your cells. So you got to be concerned with your microbiome.
What's microbiome?
Your microbiome is all the bacterial cells that line your gut. We are 38 trillion, to repeat it, bacterial cells, only 30 trillion human cells. So most of those cells are in your gut. So this is why, if you're a C-section baby, and don't worry if you are grandchildren because you could have restored it, C-section babies have more dementia and are more prone to depression. And the reason is, you're not born and you don't get the bacteria from the birth canal. You get it from doctor's skin, mother's skin, and then you're on an antibiotic because you're having surgery. If you take antibiotics, or you ever had, that kills all your bacteria. So you have to restore, and yogurt is not it. Yogurt is one of the worst. We said emulsifiers. So let me tell you about emulsifiers, and hopefully this is another RFK Jr. I'm in his ear. This is one of his things that he's going to try to eliminate. Emulsifiers take in your food something that's liquid and fat, mix it together so it lives on the shelf for 42 years, and if bacteria doesn't eat it, you don't want to eat it either, right? So it increases shelf life. This is what it does. Emulsifiers cause holes in that bacterial lining. And that's what causes these proteins and other bad bacteria, toxins to get into your blood. And then your cells don't get what they need to replenish. Emulsifiers are definitely in almost every ice cream. Haagen-Dazs, I found one that doesn't have it. They're in every salad dressing. They're in every candy bar. It's such a challenge for me to go out, buy, and eat. Because I know what it does to you. They are the gums. You're going to become great shoppers now, label readers. They're the guarine gum, the carob gum, the Caribbean gum, soybean oil, and sometimes it'll say an emulsifier. So they destroy your microbiome. The other thing that doesn't help your gut bacteria is sugar. Sugar and alcohol. Terrible for your microbiome. The good things for your microbiome: sauerkraut, any fermented vegetable, kombucha, kimchi, very spicy, but really good for your gut bacteria. The other thing, and this is from, I don't know if I have this slide here. I think I do. Oh, here you go. So, what I'm going to talk about next is coming from David Perlmutter. He's a neurologist for many years who was tired of taking care of his mother and all of his patients with dementia and depression with drugs. And he looked at the microbiome. And this is what he found, and he found the research. I made the connection of what this research means. He dropped 2 mice in water, measuring for a depression drug. He didn't do it, this is the research he found. If they gave one mouse a good probiotic, that mouse got fed, spit into the blood, all these tryptophan, dopamine, serotonin, the pleasure hormones, guess what? Treaded water longer. The other mouse did. This is what he found. Separate research. They severed the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is the major part of your parasympathetic nervous system. Your body runs itself through your autonomic nerves. Sympathetic is fight or flight, speeds up your heart, rushes through your day, you get stressed, which is very good if you got to get away from a tiger, right? If you got to run away. But we are in sympathetic overload, most of us. And the parasympathetic is overtaken, which is rest, digest, and repair. So this is what happens. They sever the vagus nerve, they live in the bacteria, but the mouse doesn't tread water. Because get this, 70 to 80% of your vagus nerve goes to your gut. Your vagus nerve does everything. It affects your blood pressure, your hormones. It directs everything in your body. And there's also parasympathetics down here, but this is a major one. It goes right by your upper neck. 70 to 80% of the vagus nerve is afferent. So nerves give information to the body, but then nerves also take information from the body and drive the brain. 70-80% of the vagus nerve is getting information from your bacteria and giving brain, and this is why your brain changes. DNA now, they find, changes. Revolutionary. They never understood this. So this is what I found as a doctor of chiropractic. You don't have to sever the vagus nerve to irritate the communication and not digest food better. You can misalign the upper neck. And the upper neck is very different than anywhere else in the body because it's a different kind of joint. The atlas, the first bone in your neck, is a 2-ounce bone with a 12 to 15 pound ball, your skull sitting on it, with no disc between it and your skull and your second bone in your neck. So it glides. It does this. And most of your motion is in that first bone in your neck.
Say that again about the connection, no gifts. You said something, I didn't understand the word.
So 70-80% of the nerve gives information to the brain, driving the brain. 70-80%. This is why if you have a gut feeling, it's literally a gut feeling, right? Because your vagus nerve is getting information and communicating with the brain. So what I have found in a clinical, practical 42 years of checking babies especially. You say, well, what is a baby doing in a doctor of chiropractic's office? Well, first of all, a lot more in Haiti where I do mission work, and we have an orphanage and a church and a school, and we adjust every single baby. We have a birthing center with 3 midwives. 1 in 80 women don't give birth. They don't make it through because they have no running water and they're giving birth outside their shack, no electricity.
Wow.
So we have a birthing center and we've born 380 babies over the last 4 years, right next to our orphanage, right? We have a chiropractic clinic there. We're in every hospital, every school. Part of the presentation to RFK Jr. is to allow chiropractic to teach a program called Straighten Up America. It's posture exercises just like you brush your teeth. But it's also to have chiropractors adjusting first special ed kids. In Wisconsin, they have 16 schools. A friend of mine, it's unbelievable, paid by Medicaid.
Aww.
That they're adjusting all the special ed kids, now all the children, all the staff. See, in Haiti, when they get born, it's traumatic. We teach them, when you're giving birth, you're trying to push something uphill. Only in our country, woman's on her back, I didn't bring my spine, trying to push something uphill. My 3 kids were born squatting and birthing and kneeling with gravity. So what they do is they pull with 60 to 90 pounds of pressure, and how does the baby come out? Hi, let's have a party. Or is it screaming, ranting, and raving? And the first system that shuts down, they have colic.
They have what?
Colic. They're crying all the time. Why? Because their digestive systems have shut down.
Yeah.
Because their vagus nerve has been interfered with. So there's research in Germany comparing chiropractic adjustment with a drug, with colicky babies. And the adjustment does so much far better for so much far longer.
Yeah.
So I have kids with ear infections because of this vagus nerve. Yes?
And birthing downwards
Is-
eliminates that?
Well, you have a much better chance of this is the normal natural birth.
Uh-huh.
The natural vaginal is, we're giving birth uphill. It makes 0 sense. Only our country. We used to give birth hanging from a tree. See, so I see this also with adults with colitis and irritable bowel syndrome. You know, we try to watch their diet, we try to teach them exercise, but if this thing that I'm talking about is called a subluxation. It's when the spine misaligns, causes irritation to a nerve. There are 3 causes of that: physical, emotional, and chemical stress. So physical stress is you've been sitting for an hour. If you're sitting like that, we teach this in our workshop, you're better off sitting like that, because that puts more stress. Then there's emotional stress. Muscles pull the vertebrae and cause irritation to the nerve. And then our nerve system perceives all the chemical stuff in the water, the food, preservatives, pesticides. So that all irritates the nervous system. So you are what you eat. But if you're not getting energy from your brain to these bacteria, to producing stomach acid, to getting the colon to have peristalsis and move, you're never going to be as healthy as you should if your spine is subluxated. And, you know, as I said, with RFK Jr., we're going to see, we're going to embark on this whole procedure of bringing this into the schools. And they may do it school by school, but once the public sees that chiropractic is adjusting children in school, our profession will change, but more importantly, we will truly have a healthy America again. So I want to thank you for having me here. I didn't stick to the 6 hours. I'm a minute over. And any questions? Yes?
You mentioned the benefits, the general benefits of coffee.
Yes.
And I drink tea, so.
Yeah.
Well, tea has a lot. Green tea is good. Green tea has more antioxidants.
How about jasmine?
Bioorganic. Jasmine is good. Bioorganic. Black tea has they both have a lot of caffeine. So the same rule applies. You got to drink a lot of water, because anything with caffeine, green tea has a lot of caffeine, maybe even more than black. But it's going to dehydrate you and it's going to demineralize you. It's going to take out potassium and magnesium and a whole bunch of stuff.
So you should drink more water?
Drink more water and eat a lot of green leafy
The
vegetables.
content of tea is water.
I'm sorry?
The content of
Well,
tea
it is.
water.
Yeah, well, but the amount of caffeine you have might offset the amount of water that's in the tea you're drinking.
Is the tannic acid in the tea?
I'm sorry?
The tannic acid in the tea?
Tannic acid is usually in teas too, yeah. And yes.
Yeah, I know that I'm aware of the importance of water. However, when I have a very low sodium level, and I'm limited to have water.
Mm-hmm. So you have to see why your sodium level is low. Because this is the story. Do you alter your body?
What will be the reason?
Well, you have to look at your nervous system and how well it's functioning. You have to look at your blood levels. So that you don't stop drinking water rather than figuring out what's wrong with your sodium level.
The water washes away the...
Yeah, but again, there's got to be a reason why your sodium level is low. And I would suggest somebody in functional medicine to look at your blood. Yes?
What about, to his point, what about decaffeinated? Is that a myth or?
Well, oh, I'm glad somebody brought, thank you for bringing that up. Decaffeinated is decaffeinated with benzene.
What's that?
Benzene is something you find in your turpentine, in your paint thinners, and it is horrible. It has to be, I don't know if they decaffeinate tea the same way you can get decaffeinated coffee, a Swiss water process. So do the research, it's called Swiss water process. That's the process that gets caffeine out where you're not getting benzene in your system. So, what I'm going to suggest, folks, if you want to attend my workshop, this is how you can reach me. If you have a question, you can email me. If I don't respond, please call me, because it might go to spam, and I want to make sure I'm responsive. This is our phone number in the office. It also, you can text there. So, two things. If you want to attend our Tuesday workshop, it's at 6:30. I do it every other Tuesday. There's a basic and an advanced. The basic is going to remind you to cross your legs like this. I don't even think I'm kidding. It puts stress on your spine. So we go through a lot of phone setup, desk setup, proper lifting. That's the basic. Next Tuesday is the advanced. It's this plus exercise, stress management. But I would also suggest having your spine and your nerve system checked. And if you have loved ones, if you have kids who are always, or grandkids who are sick and tired of being sick and tired, and if they're not in this area, I don't care. I'll find them a doctor who's a pediatric chiropractor. So you can text. I would suggest text Rita to Rita's attention. And that's the number to text. Or if you want to have your own spine checked and evaluated to make sure that you don't have subluxation interfering with the communication from your brain to your cells. Yes?
Where's your office?
I'm in Whitestone, Queens. Right by the Whitestone Bridge. I could be adjusting as many fishies as people.
So, my chiropractic experience goes back probably 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
You may remember my chiropractor, Ernest Napolitano.
Oh, I know. He taught at New York Chiropractic College.
And then after that, I went through a number of different chiropractors. Yeah. And one of the last ones, which I missed, went to Pennsylvania, was Ventimiglia.
Oh, Tom Ventimiglia. He's a good friend of mine. He was the president of the association. I was the president of the other. You know how you have Republicans and Democrats? We have the same thing in chiropractic.
Here's one of the issues. I mean, I've been going chiropractic for 50 years. When it was voodoo.
Yeah, not licensed.
Yeah. It was voodoo. Ernest Napolitano was one, and his brother were chiropractors for the United States Army, through and stuff like that. But, the chiropractors said that was straight, many stuff. But here's the thing that I hear. Chiropractors today, 80% of them coming out of college are not starting their own practice.
Well,
and even Ernest, going back, and he's gone for at least 30 years, I think.
Yes.
He was a little upset with the direction that chiropractic was going. Now I'm hoping with this new administration, this new direction that health is going in this country, that's going to change.
Yeah,
The hospitals owning the doctors, the chiropractors, is that exactly what chiropractic is supposed to be?
There's a lot of issues. You said a mouthful. And the reason that is I'm involved in the politics of chiropractic because I wanted to be sure if one of my 3 kids went to school for chiropractic, they'd find a school that taught traditional technique. So I went to a school and I mastered the technique and now I teach technique. Some schools, like New York, Ernest would be turning in his grave.
I'm sure.
Because they're changing the curriculum and some schools want us to prescribe drugs and want to change, like the road of the osteopath. Osteopathy used to, totally different reason, manipulate to improve circulation. They didn't do it to remove nerve pressure. They were approached by the pharmaceuticals, incorporated a medical curriculum, and now very few of them will touch your spine. Yeah.
The sciatica. How does sciatica interfere with the automatic nervous system?
Well, first of all, when you cause irritation, when you irritate a nerve, do you feel that? What do you think? Well,
Yeah.
be careful before you answer.
Oh, I do feel it.
Well, you feel it because you got to the sensory inside 20 to 30% of the nerve. 80 to 85% of any of the fibers in any one of these nerves do not relay pain. So the same nerve that could be causing, do you get leg pain?
Yes.
Yeah, because I'll tell you what sciatica is in a second. But that same nerve going into your leg could go to your prostate or go to your intestines. Yeah, it's not, they're not separate nerves. One nerve, a bunch of fibers, most of them don't relay pain. So sciatica is a lump hole diagnosis that means zilch. It's irritation of the sciatic nerve. What's causing it? It could be a spasm piriformis muscle. It could be hip joint degeneration. More often than not, it's a misalignment of your sacrum and or the L5 vertebrae. So, yes. Wait 1 second, I'm sorry.
Your take on spring water, almond milk, and probiotics?
All right, so spring water is good water if it's really spring water. You could filter your own water and it's almost going to be as good. Almond milk is great. It doesn't have probiotics, but it doesn't have the emulsifiers. I'm telling you, the almond milk, if you're buying it, has a gum in it. It's probably got salt, probably got sugar. So there are very few. Elmhurst, if you remember, like Elmhurst, Queens. Elmhurst milk, very costly. Walnut milk, almond milk, and filtered water. Whichever one, I'm not saying they're all those milks combined.
Yeah.
They have different flavors, cashew milk, and water, and that's it. Sir, telephone number is 718-746-4777. Lucky sevens. 746-4777.
My last
Yes.
bullet point, is it good to take probiotics or it's not good to take probiotics?
Well, that's a good question. Thank you again. It's better to get it from your food. Now, there's a time when you're stressed, if you're sick, if you're taking an antibiotic for whatever reason, it's a good thing to take a probiotic. I don't take it prophylactically. I'll take it every couple of months. I listen to my body, because this is the thing you got to realize. Same thing with vitamin C or any other nutraceutical. If you take it, what is it telling your body?
That you need it.
Or don't produce it.
Oh.
Right? So I'm not against those things, but I won't take something like probiotic forever. I'll take it when I'm stressed. I'll take it if I eat a bad meal and I have something that's bad in the food, that it gives me upset stomach, because upset stomachs are either gas from not having enough, and the problem with that is it's not having too much acid, it's not having enough acid. So when you take care of ulcers and all that stuff, they're taking care of it bass backwards, if you would. I think I got that right. Ass backwards, never mind. Because it's you don't have enough acid. It's not that you have too much. So the point is that if you eat something that's terrible indigestion, then I would definitely take probiotics with a meal, every meal for a couple of weeks. Yes, sir.
Hi.
Did I answer your question?
Yes, you do.
So when a chiropractor works on you, it seems like the last thing he does is work on your neck. Does that help with that?
Well, if he's a good chiropractor, that is the last thing he does. Now, I teach technique,
Yeah.
and you could adjust in any order, but how I teach and how I practice, I don't want any force in the spine after this one, because this one I want holding. I don't want anything interfering with that. So I'm going to tell you my own story, just because the Spirit told me to tell you this. May 1st, 2011, I'm playing third base. I should have been playing short. This would have never happened. It's a slow ground ball off a curve ball. First and second. Sorry, ladies, if you don't follow baseball, but I want to make a double play. I want to tag the runner and throw to first. The runner never moves. I run in head first. I find out he's screaming. I'm screaming. I found out consequently he had 3 fractured ribs. And I fell to the ground screaming, I have a hangman's fracture. A hangman's fracture is when they hang you, the axis bursts. They helicoptered me from Jericho High School to the nearest trauma center. And this is where, if you don't believe in God, you could better start. I had a hangman's fracture. Now, I've been injured a lot of different ways. It could have been a burst fracture, a Jackson fracture. It could have been so many fractures. But God was saying, don't move that boy, or he'll be dead. And the bone burst into my right vertebral artery. So this is 14 years ago. I have tremendous faith. Number one, I've been getting adjusted like you, sir, my whole life, from my mother taking me. I went within 4 weeks, because I know the techniques. Atlas orthogonal is an instrument. It is this much force. You don't even feel it. They position your body. It's heavy X-ray based. So this bone, fractured, is in my right vertebral artery. I got adjusted within 3 weeks. I had a halo brace, not with the bolts. It was Velcro. Within 2 months, I was walking. I was maybe never going to walk again. And I was adjusting. This happened May. In September, I was in my office seeing my patients again. So I understand the power of the nervous system and how a very well-directed force in a very precise area can bring you back to life. So I thank you very much. I felt that I had to end on that.
Well, just ending on that, do you recommend back massages at all?
They're great. They release toxins. They don't do anything to clear out your nerve system. Feels good while it's being done.
Yeah, for a day.
Thank you. Thank you. Free workshops. Yep. In fact, we have 4 already.
Yeah, now I go to Robert.
That's so funny. Robert Marchese, I was just